This actually feeds right into the assumption you're an asshole off camera and have no real empathy.
Wow. Yeah, you nailed it. Not only is there no answer that we can give that would appease everybody, there's no way to even reach everybody. I've survived 15 years doing this. I think if I had a super, super unhealthy relationship with it, I probably wouldn't have lasted this long. The short answer is no. I wouldn't, never, and have never. The hard R.
Hi guys, I'm Spencer Agnew, and you may know me as the director of SMOSH Games. Today, I am joined by Linus from Linus Tech Tips to address your assumptions. And there's a lot of them. Some of them are for me, because I am very publicly a fan of Linus Tech Tips. Did you know you referenced in the SMOSH and Baby No Money song, Submissive and Breedable?
Tucking on my tip, first name like Linus.
Yes.
Oh, done. Easy.
Yeah, I've talked about it on my podcast. Do you not even watch our podcast?
The WAN show?
Wow, embarrassing. Do you even do research on your guests before? See, I assumed that on this show you guys did preparation.
Let's keep the assumptions to my part.
You guys had a call sheet and everything. You asked if I like banana bread this morning.
Do you know the lyric?
No.
So the line is, "Teching on my tip, first name like Linus."
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm caught off guard. This wasn't where I expected things to go.
Talking about my penis?
Talking about Linus's tips.
It's not really where I expected this to go either. I've never really been interviewed before, I don't think.
No way.
Oh, maybe once.
I guess you're the interviewer.
Yeah.
What would be the most that I could know about you that would freak you out?
Oh, I don't think you could freak me out.
Because there's got to be some diehard Linus fans.
My mom has told me that at some point, I came into the living room in one of my sister's dance outfits and declared, "I want you all to call me Lily." So I guess, I have an alternate
Did you direct
timeline
The Matrix?
name. No. Good film though.
It was a good one, everyone.
Good film, holds up well.
Yeah, it does. First assumption, LTT has become an entertainment channel rather than a serious tech channel.
That's a fun one, right? Because I think that the assumption is actually that LTT was ever a serious channel. We're gonna have some fun. Here we go. I'm gonna play for you the very first video on Linus Tech Tips. Prove it isn't. Thank you for joining me. This is literally in the first 15 seconds of the existence of the Linus Tech Tips channel. We have a weird intro, a cringy high back chair turnaround, and a laugh track. From
day one.
From literally the very first video. It was about educating people about technology, but doing it in an entertaining fashion that makes them not feel like they actually learned anything. So when people tell me, oh, Linus Tech Tips has just become entertainment, to me what that tells me is a couple of things. Number one is that we've done a really good job disguising the education that we do as entertainment. And number two is that in some cases, maybe we've taught people as much as we can. And maybe the shift has occurred for them, where LTT is more about the entertaining aspects of the content, and they don't have as much to learn anymore. And that's natural. That's okay. I regularly get emails, messages, DMs from people that are like, I started watching you in high school and now I'm a sysadmin. I just graduated, thanks for igniting that spark in me. And if I was going to define what we are and what we do, I would say that's it. I'm a fire starter because I'm not going to take you from knowing absolutely nothing about technology to designing circuit boards. That's not the intent. That was never the intent, right? But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna go around and I'm just gonna take Tinder and matches, light little fires over here, I'll light a little one over here. And some of them are gonna fizzle out and people are gonna ultimately get busy having sex with girls or something, right? Or boys, well, men, but just the point is that some
of them are going to be having sex, but
yeah, but some of them are gonna burn,
not have sex,
bright and nerdy,
yeah,
and it's gonna be delightful, and they're gonna make careers out of this, and they're gonna change the world, right?
Yeah.
I've always been inspired by content like Bill Nye the Science Guy, right?
Yeah.
I grew up with Bill Nye the Science Guy, and am I gonna write my doctorate dissertation or whatever? Am I gonna submit
insert fart sound?
Yeah, I'm gonna submit my PhD research thesis or whatever with Bill Nye as my primary. No, right? Obviously not. But that wasn't his role. That wasn't his job, right? But that doesn't mean he didn't teach me anything.
I have this assumption to piggyback off that last one. You've made being a nerd way more accessible for a large group of people.
I don't think so. I think that I was just part of a growing culture. I think that when I grew up, right, kids played games. Kids tinkered with computer systems and whatever. For adults, they were just tools. They were for word processing, right? But my whole generation was all growing up at the same time, still being into, video games and tinkering and computers, and we cut our teeth on it, right? And so I don't think that I made it happen. I think that would be, I think hubris is probably the only word that I could use to describe that type of sort of self-congratulation. But I do think that I was in the right place at the right time, being the right age to grow into adulthood with a cohort of people that shared a lot of my common interests. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what being a YouTuber is all about, right? It's connecting with people who share a common interest, not necessarily creating an interest out of thin air. I didn't invent computers. I didn't write any software, right? I didn't actually make anything. I'm just really excited about it, and I think it's really cool. And there's a whole bunch of people who agree, and that's foundationally, that's what YouTube is. It's a bunch of people that are connecting over a shared interest, something that we're all excited about.
So something else I want to talk about is quantity versus quality. How many videos can we put out while still meeting that level of quality that the audience deserves?
I think that it's always dynamic, right? That's one that gets brought up a lot, as you guys probably saw in the audience comments leading up to this, right? Is a lot of people have accused us of sacrificing our quality for quantity. But it isn't that rare either that I come across, a Reddit thread or whatever else where people are like, yeah, I just got into LTT and I go back and I try and watch the stuff from 2-3 years ago and it's terrible.
Yeah.
They've gotten way better. And so I think there's definitely an element of beauty being in the eye of the beholder. I think there's definitely an element of nostalgia glasses. I mean, you encounter this with any IP that's been around as long as we have. People are going to they're going to yearn for the early days when it was cool. Nothing can ever be as cool as when it was fresh. Think about the best food you've ever eaten in your life. If you had it again the next week, would it be as good as the first time? If you had it the week after that, would it be as good? If you had it every week for 15 years, would it still taste as good as that first time?
Yeah, there's almost a cap to how good something can be or how fresh it can be.
Exactly.
After so long.
The freshness. We used to upload absolute garbage to the channel in the early days in the name of hitting quantity numbers because we were desperate. We were fighting for survival early on. We almost ran out of money in the early days of Linus Media Group. Whereas now, I regularly kill stuff because I'm boring. But people don't see that. All they see is what they loved. They loved it when I was in the kitchen or, when we had older team members that aren't with us anymore or, whatever it was that they grew particularly fond of. And you can never recreate that magic. So what you have to do if you want to survive is you have to find new magic and you have to build a new audience. And I think it's, I don't think there's such thing as a relationship that ends totally gracefully. And when I say relationship, I mean every kind. I mean romantic relationships, I mean friendships, I mean employee-employer, colleague relationships, and I even mean relationships with brands and IPs and media personalities, right? I think when something fades out, I think there can be some, at the very least, some bittersweetness, right?
Yeah.
I used to like this. That used to be so cool. It was such a big part of my life. Every day I would wake up and I would watch LTT, I'd watch SMOSH, whatever, right?
That's it sounds dramatic, but I totally agree where it's I'll think of YouTube channels I maybe I didn't even unsubscribe to them, but I just don't watch them anymore. And you can almost pinpoint a moment where it's and that's kind of where the magic was lost for me a little bit.
Exactly. And so I think that people go through that experience and they go through that micro grief, I guess you could call it. And there can be some bitterness or resentment or unhappiness. There can be some negativity attached to that. And they can feel kind of left behind or abandoned by it. But maybe you just grew apart, and maybe that's okay. But that's where I think a lot of the comments oh yeah, they don't cater to the core audience anymore, right? They're doing Zoomer editing in their intros or whatever it is that's changing. But at the end of the day, I think people have to understand that divergence is natural and it's okay. And any media property that isn't actively courting new viewers is going to die. But the show must go on. People have to eat. People have families now. When we started, I was the only one with kids. Now we have probably a dozen plus members of the team that have children who eat because of their job at Linus Media Group. So like, we're going to court new viewers. Yeah, we're going to try to appeal to both, you know, the old schools who are like building NASs for their families, and also, you know, the young kids who are like, whoa, that's a sick TV.
How much of a discrepancy is there, I think, between like off-screen Linus and on-screen Linus? Like, how much do you turn it on? This actually feeds right into the assumption.
Yeah.
You're an asshole off camera and have no real empathy.
Wow. Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably about like any other YouTuber that I've met, where I am pretty much myself, but like kind of a caffeinated version of myself.
That's
like,
a good,
Like, that's kind of the switch that flips. As for whether I'm an asshole, I think that some people probably genuinely feel that way, which is kind of...
Yeah, it comes from that like lizard way of like that very like binary way of thinking maybe, where it's like...
It comes from wanting to get things done.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anyone who has stuff to do and is busy can be as patient as they want to be every single time. And I definitely am like a troll. Like, I'm your classic like gamer troll, where I'll sometimes just say the most outlandish, offensive thing because I just think it's funny. And when I have the rapport with people, I like to think that, you know, we actually have, I've had decade plus long working relationships with people who I feel like are my friends. And I think that if you can build that kind of rapport with people, it's actually way better than just like, I don't know, man. I'm trying to imagine like the kind of work relationship or the kind of work environment
where it's a purely business.
Yeah, where you can't joke with each other. Like, I want to be able to talk to people and have fun and throw jabs, and I absolutely want to open myself up to allow jabs to be thrown at me. That's one of the reasons that I do play a bit of like I play a bit of the clown on set and for the camera, right? Where I'll drop things, or I'll be the one to ask the dumb question, to prompt someone, to give them an excuse to explain it or whatever. Like, I play that character a little bit because I want to create an environment where it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to call other people out on mistakes, because I think that makes us all better. You know, some people can function well in that sort of environment, and some people, you know, look at it behind the scenes for us and they kind of go, okay, yeah, no, that's like the worst thing I've ever seen. But for the most part, I think 99%, when people watch like a behind the scenes where I'm directing a shoot or whatever else, they're like, wow, that's so cool to see the process. I don't see anyone saying like, oh, the guy seems totally insufferable. And I say that with a fair degree of confidence, because coming back to those relationships that I've had for a decade plus with people that, work for me or whatever, but that I also consider friends, we absolutely have people on camera that would, to my face, tell me, that's not okay. That's not cool. That was over the line. You need to go apologize. Without fail. If that happens, I will go. I will deal with it. I will apologize. We'll find a way to do it better.
Let's go to the next assumption. You must be dropping things in videos on purpose at this point.
It's not on purpose, but I do definitely allow myself to be in situations where something could fall.
Yeah.
Because I know people love it. They think it's funny. I will say that more recently, I will kind of be like, ugh, when I drop something, because it kind of hijacks the entire comment section.
Especially on something you worked really hard on. It's like, but he locked it.
Especially on something where I feel like the content is kind of important. You know, it's something people need to know. It's going to save them a lot of money, or it's going to save them a lot of time. I have dropped something on purpose, like scripted on purpose, I think one time.
What was it?
It was a fake graphics card. It was like a big one, like it looked super high end. Yeah. And right at the beginning of the video, I just wanted this to be like a really attention grabbing hook. I like trip and just basically huck it at the ground.
Spike it.
And I don't know if we actually acknowledge in the video that it was fake, but I have acknowledged after the fact that was
you made a statement.
It was a dummy GPU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would assume that your most given piece of technical advice is to restart it.
Yeah.
Is that the advice you would give anyone?
Yeah.
Same. Anytime anyone has a problem in my family, they call me. I'm the guy they call.
Yeah.
Are you the guy do you have a whole extended family that will call you?
No. Yeah, no, I just, at a certain point, I think every like tech person in a family has to kind of like
Draw a line.
Yeah, basically go look.
You said no more tech.
Yeah, I'm not
You put
tech
the
support.
Spider-Man outfit in the trash can. You're walking away.
Everyone gets one.
Yeah.
You're at like 17.
17. Please
Enough's enough.
reboots.
Yeah.
The assumption is that Linus got too big too fast, and Linus lost the plot.
What does that mean?
I think maybe like the company almost like getting away from you, where it's like where you create something and then it becomes something so much bigger than yourself. The question would be, for me, like, do you miss doing the little things, like the day-to-day things?
Yeah, definitely. I think you ask pretty much anyone who goes from like a boots on the ground, getting your hands dirty kind of role to more of an administrative role, they're probably going to tell you that, yeah, they miss like being in the trenches sometimes. But other times, you know, it's nice when the production goes smoothly, you know, and you didn't have to handhold every single step of the process, right? So I'd say it's one of those things where it's give and take. Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes, you know, I miss it a lot and I just want to like, you know, get the product and like look at it and make notes and write the whole video. But it's not scalable. If I was trying to publish any reasonable amount of videos, like more than, you know, one every couple of weeks, like I need a team helping me do this stuff. Like I can't do it.
Is there a world where Linus Tech Tips stayed relatively small? Like, would you have been able to keep it really small and, you know, I don't know, do less videos, or is that even something that you would have wanted to do?
I think that we've always been, as a team, like as a culture, because it was never just me. From day zero, it was me and someone else at the computer store that I worked at. And then when Linus Media Group was founded, it was me and two guys plus my wife treating it as her kind of second job when she got home from her first job, day zero. So we were 3.5 people immediately. All of us were always asking, you know, what can we do? What can we do better? You know, what can we do that's cooler and more ambitious? I don't think any of us was ever asking, how do we keep this small? I think if you ask anyone from the early days, like, you know, do you miss it? I think they'll say, yeah. But I don't think we would have been happy staying small. And for me, you got to remember that when we founded Linus Media Group, it was a really, really different time in the creator space. Like having a sponsorship in your video was not just not the norm. It was like unheard of. Like, get a real job. What do you mean you want to make money on YouTube? Like that was the attitude that we got from people, right? So there was absolutely a certain amount of like franticness, like who knows how long this will last? Like we literally created a user forum because we wanted to be prepared in case Google ever was like, oh yeah, I don't like what these guys are doing and like killed our channel. Like Google has nuked channels before. Yeah. And we wanted a way to have like a mailing list so we could let people know like, hey, we're on Vimeo. Or whatever, right?
What about merch? Were you guys pretty early to the merch game?
I don't think so, but it's funny how timescales stretch, right? Because if you asked me if I was early to the YouTube game, I'd be like, now I'd say yeah, because I'm like OG or something. Yeah. But if you asked me when I got started, I'd be like, oh no, there's huge players in the space that we could never catch up to. I mean, there's PC WizKid and Locker Gnome and Chillafrilla. I'll never catch them.
So crazy names.
So if you asked me back then, are you early to the game? I'd say no. But if you ask me now, obviously that's changed. And I think the same thing could apply to merch. If you asked me when we were starting up, I would say no. But then you ask me now, over the Black Friday, Cyber Monday period that we just had, we moved over 20,000 screwdrivers.
Holy moly.
In like the last 6 days, right? So if you ask me now, if we were like early to the game, I think that at the level that we're doing it, where we are designing bespoke products from the ground up, like identifying needs that we have that we think need to be addressed in the market, hiring engineering folks to come in and design them and bring them to market, right? I think that we are relatively early for that. So it depends on the context of the question, I guess.
I would assume that you have one Linus Tech Tip screwdriver on you at all times. At least one. How many do you have?
So the standard one is not TSA safe.
Really?
But I found a hack, okay? So if you have the stubby driver, okay, which has half as many bits, but it's really good for fitting into tight places, same great ratchet design, and you have the shaft extension,
And it becomes a real one.
Very potent tool, very potent tool. See, I don't like talking about short tools as like real or not real because they're all a good size. Yeah. But thank you for that though. I'm glad we got an opportunity to clarify that. But yes, I would say that I definitely have an LTT screwdriver with me at all times.
I got the black and orange one, but I have the full size one. Can I have the stubby one?
Really? All right, fine. I'll allow it.
It's the best day of my life. Oh my God, dude. Anytime I have guests over, I'd be like, oh, this thing? Yeah. I'll be like, it's Linus. They'd be like, who the f is that?
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
yeah.
How about this assumption? You throw everything away after a review. That might be what some people would assume. Not me, because I'm a fan, but...
I think some people might assume that, but that would be a really kind of silly thing to do. There are certainly cases where we're obligated to throw it away, like if someone ships us an engineering sample that is not supposed to be out in the wild. It might
throw it away.
It might be with the agreement that it gets shredded or sent back for shredding. Oh, you'd be amazed at how many devices get destroyed as part of the process for bringing something to market. So imagine for a second, you guys do a prototype, right, of a shirt, and it's in this like pastel puke color. I don't know if that's a real color, but it sounds unappealing, right?
It's like puce.
So you make these shirts, and you guys get them, and you send them to somewhere because they're gonna use them for fit. Do you want that shirt with the SMOSH brand on it to continue to exist? Because that could reflect poorly on the quality if someone were to see it on the street.
I don't think it gets anywhere for us, Linus.
The point is, if you have something that's not up to final product quality, you don't want it to exist.
Exactly.
And the other thing is that part of the process of bringing something to market is in some cases destroying a lot of them. So we did a video at OnePlus's factory where they basically showed us how they'll take finished phones, qualification sample phones that are functionally as good as the brand new one that they're gonna ship to customers. And they will literally just take them and put them in a rock tumbler and just like beat the shit out of them for like hours.
So like the IKEA test thing where they punch
just to know if they're like gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And they will destroy hundreds and hundreds of phones before they ever ship a single one to a customer. So to send some of those early samples out for a review, for example, is a pretty common practice. So those would get destroyed. But anything that's still functional, I mean, I'm pretty averse to waste overall. So generally speaking, it goes in our Indiana Jones warehouse.
Yeah, that was the reference I was gonna make.
Or it'll go to it'll go to our Christmas party. We give away a lot of stuff at our Christmas party.
How do I get an invite?
You have to work at Linus Media
Have
Group
to work.
Incorporated.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Simple enough.
So is this a job interview
This is now a reverse job interview. Here's a good assumption.
Sure.
You're a workaholic. Go.
I think that the line between work and social media addiction is super blurry. I read a lot of comments on YouTube and I interact a lot with people online. But if I was just on my personal Reddit account on some fan subreddit that I subscribe to, and if I just consumed a lot of YouTube and interacted a lot in the comments section, you would call it a social media aholic. But the fact that social media is my job makes it a workaholic. But it's almost kind of like a double whammy. Like if you enjoy work and you value doing a good job, I think there's a tendency to have an unhealthy attitude about work and to not be able to turn it off. And then you kind of couple that with the addictiveness of social media and the overstimulation of these like many to one like interactions. I think it creates a recipe for people to burn out of this. I think over the years, I've definitely had periods where I am extremely hooked, but I've survived 15 years doing this. Longer than that, actually.
More.
I'm probably due for a break, but I think if I had a super, super unhealthy relationship with it, I probably wouldn't have lasted this long. There's definitely been times when, there's been intense conversations. There's been tears, talking to the wife about, what are we doing here, right? Like, what kind of growth are we pursuing? What's the goal? When does it end? When does it end? What's the outcome we're after, right? And, the way that I've always kind of seen it and the way that I particularly would justify keeping up the intensity in the early days was, it comes back to make hay while the sun's shining, right? Like I see this career as having a lot of parallels to professional sports, where you're gonna bust your butt in complete obscurity, you're probably not going to make it. If you make it, you have a window, right? And you don't know how long that window is going to be, and it can close at any moment due to external factors beyond your control. And once the window is closed, it is almost certain that it will never open again. I don't think we've seen many social media talents, and I do recognize the irony of the studio that I'm sitting in right now. I don't think we've seen many social media talents go from the top of the game to complete obscurity to relevance again. Yeah. And so, was there an element of that, with the franticness, right? Building the company, sort of scaling as much as we could, making it as sustainable as possible, like absolutely. But a big part of it was making it scalable and sustainable so that I wasn't the one doing absolutely everything. I think that's a big part. Allowing other people to do the work and being willing to pay other people and invest in other people and processes and facilities and equipment to scale it and make it sustainable is a big part of why I've been able to do it for so long.
So Linus Media Group has endured its fair share of controversies over the past year, and you and the company have responded pretty thoroughly to each of these claims. But what would you say to the assumption that there must be something bigger going on behind the scenes, or that you must be a bad guy for all these controversies to even make sense in the first place?
I think one of the biggest challenges is that not only is there no answer that we can give that would appease everybody, there's no way to even reach everybody. Mm-hmm. There was so much momentum around this that there's no way for us to replicate it with the
inverse almost.
Hey, actually, it turns out that I'm trying to remember what the exact wording was from the summary of the report that we released, but I think it was unfounded and unfair or something along those lines for the one set of allegations. And then there was the allegations of, unthoroughness in our content that, I think my very first response, I basically went, we have made some mistakes and we have things to tighten up. To this day, I haven't really addressed, what of that I do agree with, what of it I don't agree with, because I think the more important thing for us to do is tighten up our ship as much as we can, do our best, do better every day. And I think we've done a really good job of that. I've scripted videos immediately in the aftermath to respond to this and stuff. I've written the whole thing out, basically laying out everything. And one of the things that's in some version of that script at some point or another, as you can imagine, I've thought about it a fair bit, but one of the things that's in there is for God's sakes, people, I am so easy to surreptitiously record that there are multiple videos where employees hide in my house and record me for long periods of time. We literally work in an office where it's people's job to run around with cameras and film stuff. Do you have any idea how easy it would be to get a video of me being a complete f***ing monster to somebody if that was happening? It was really interesting watching the narrative spin up that, because of the controversy, I recognized that I was an incapable leader and I hired a CEO. And it's what the fuck are you talking about? Taryn was hired months before any of that hit. And I started talking to him about working here a year before that. The problem was that I was a part-time CEO and we had reached the size of company where we needed a full-time one, right? I was also our primary on-screen talent and creative director and all these other stupid things. I was on the party planning committee, for crying out loud. So this assumption that we got criticized and so I hired someone. It's not just an unfair assumption. It's just stupid. It's just uninformed, right? And the irony of being attacked for being careless in my research or whatever by a segment of the community whose research into our issues was so careless and incomplete and misguided was not lost on me. But it's not something that I think I can really address, because back to the damned if you do, damned if you don't thing, right? If I don't address it, people spin the narrative. If I do address it, there's kind of no way to win because they're not going to believe me anyway. And in some cases, I'm going to be seen as a bully because we're always going to be the bigger channel, or we're always going to be the employer versus the employee or the smaller channel or, whoever else it is that's kind of attacking us. So what I've learned is that I just have to say nothing and just let them get tired and let them move on to their next outrage.
Talking about the quality, at this point, do you feel like you've addressed the claims that you potentially would like rush reviews?
Every review is rushed.
Yeah, I mean...
Every review from anyone is rushed. And part of that is just the nature of the beast. If you don't have time to market, getting people news about the latest embargo product, you will get a fraction of the views. And I think it's easy to kind of say, well, if you're doing it for views, you're selling out. But it's like, no, that's like how we survive. It's the same pressure that's on everybody. So, then the obvious retort is, well, then why doesn't everybody else rush? And the answer is they do.
Yeah.
The amount of crunch in like the tech review space is crazy, especially during certain times of year, because you often will be given partial bits of information, or you'll be given the hardware, but you're not given the software that goes with it until 4 days before the publication embargo lifts. And a lot of these companies are still in the mindset of like traditional like written media, or not even traditional written media. I'm talking like web written media, which was probably the most agile form of media that ever existed, because the speed at which you could make edits to something, the way that you could edit something last minute right up until the publication deadline.
But a fully published, a fully edited, a fully QC'd YouTube video.
Our deadlines are much different. And so what people will kind of get stuck on sometimes is the choices that we make in terms of which corners we'll cut. Some people will cut the corner that they will only look at gaming performance of a CPU, and they won't really look at video encoding, or they won't look at workstation workloads or whatever else, right? Whereas we tend to paint broader strokes. So we'll have like 3 games at 2 resolutions, or we'll have 4 games at 1 resolution or something like that.
Rise of the Tomb Raider.
And we'll have a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, sure, classic. But we'll have a bunch of other stuff, and basically we're looking for, what's the amount of testing that we need to do that is stuff that we can trust, that will get us to the overall picture of this product. And everyone has a different philosophy for how they get there. And some people will not agree with our philosophy, and they'll look at it and they'll go, okay, well, you guys rushed. And in some cases, yeah, they're right, we rushed. But sometimes it's circumstances that are beyond our control. Like recently, we had a product we didn't even upload a review of at embargo because we got a dead one. They seeded us one that worked enough that we could power it on and run stuff, but the performance wasn't right. It was defective. And so I think people often don't understand the constraints that you're under, that everyone is compromising on something, and that we are always fine-tuning. We're always trying to create a better set of compromises that serves our audience, that tells them what they need to know about the technology while also making it palatable.
Here's an assumption.
Sure.
You're sick of all the memes.
Oh.
The Linus memes.
Not even a little.
I'm not
No,
sick
I
of them
love
either.
it. I love that shit. Someone deep faked me over Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. And I don't just mean like, for 10 seconds, because,
They did the whole thing.
Their GPU ran out of, CUDA cores or whatever. Like, they did the whole thing, and they not only face swapped me on Rick Astley, they face swapped me on like the girl with the long hair and everything. So she like turns around into the frame and it's my face. It's the funniest shit, dude. I love that stuff.
What's your favorite one? Mine's got to be just the one of you just staring. It's just the one of you staring, just kind of at the camera. I don't even know how to. It's one of those. I don't even know how you'd explain.
Yeah, that's just called Linus face.
Is it just called Linus
face meme.
Like
Linus selfie meme.
Like there's no. It's
Yeah.
one of those memes where it's you could never explain it to someone why it's funny.
No, the original tweet only got like 2,000 likes or something.
Yeah.
Like
What was the context?
The context was that I had to take a picture of myself for like a profile picture or something. There was like a reason.
So it was a real.
That I
Yeah.
was-
It was a selfie you took.
That I was taking a picture of myself in my office, and I like was holding it weird, and my face like drifted into the bottom of the frame, and I was just thinking about how optics work, and how modern optics are really incredible. Like you go back, you watch an old movie or something, and you're like, oh my God, like 40% of this is actually in focus. Like everything else is blurry. Like, wow, they really got away with a lot. And it really is remarkable the kind of like imaging capabilities that we have in these modern cameras.
and then in that moment, you took that picture.
But one of the things that you can never get around is the curvature of the lens. And I had just never really thought about the way your face distorts if you're not the one at the center of the photo. And so I like snapped this picture, and I was like, yeah,
Do you remember what camera it was on?
Yeah, it was. I believe it was on this phone.
No way.
Yeah, this is my Galaxy Note 9.
How many phones do you have in your pockets?
2.
Okay.
Yeah, one Android, one iOS.
What do you prefer?
Android.
Linus has spoken. That was crazy. And then we have the sad Linus meme, the retiring one, which I wanted to talk about a little earlier.
Sure.
I mean, you're talking about like ups and downs, and it's like, when does it end? I was there. I was there for that live stream. When you came down, you had that really intense heart to heart with the camera, and that was powerful. I was like, that's such a human, such a genuine human emotion that I wasn't expecting from like any kind of like, that was a tech tuber, for lack of a better word, where I was like, yeah, you see how much this kind of hamster wheel kind of wears on any creator, where, you're doing the same thing day in, day out. It's just such a human, any job. It's like, when does it end? And then it became an incredible meme of just you looking sad. And I'm like, that's beautiful.
I think probably about 24 hours later, I found it funny.
Yeah.
But I think the next day, I was like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I'm a troll. Mm-hmm. I'm a gamer. I'm
a gamer. I game. I troll.
But that's the thing, right? And if we're gonna laugh at other people, then I think we got to be able to laugh at ourselves. We got to be able to laugh twice as hard as ourselves. And I loved the creativity of the community, the way that they managed to take that thumbnail, and have it say so much and so little. And the fact that I was getting texts from people just in my life who don't watch the videos, know nothing about the channel, and they're just like, "Is this you?" Like that.
Who's the sad guy?
That was great, right?
Yeah. And then I got to bring this one up.
Sure.
My personal other favorite clip, the hard R clip from the WAN show.
Yeah.
Are you talking like N-word hard R?
What? No.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that's how people use that term.
No.
I think
that's
so.
The N-word. What are you guys talking about?
It's comedy perfection. It transcended the community. I sent it to people who have no idea who you guys are. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who haven't seen the clip, first of all, I highly recommend watching it. You guys are talking about how, I don't even know the catalyst for the conversation, but it's essentially about how
I was watching older movies.
So yeah, watching older movies and how, they throw the R word around.
Yeah.
And you call it the hard R.
I called it that once. I wouldn't say I call it that.
Yeah,
I have
frequently, you're always saying that.
I've been educated. No.
In your own words, you say, well, the hard R word was something that we used to kind of throw around all the time growing up.
Yeah, I think I used the word casually.
But you've since changed, and all my friends did, and it was commonplace in society.
So here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Thank God we resolved it then and there.
Immediately. His faces, it's like it's watching a movie.
Because if I had come back the next week and been like, no, I meant the R word.
Yeah.
I actually just had no idea what hard R meant.
Yeah.
I literally had no idea what that meant. That word starts with a completely different letter. I had no idea. If I had come back with that a week later,
it would have been like, oh, these guys are good.
Yeah, they had a week, they couldn't come up with a better story than that. Thank God we addressed it right away, because dude, talking about how make hay while the sun's shining, right? That could have been it. So the short answer is no. I wouldn't never and have never the hard R.
That's good to hear, Linus.
Yeah, let's just make that real clear.
And we put that to bed. No, I mean, it's such a microcosm. It all happened so fast.
Yeah, it really did.
And it seemingly resolved so fast. I mean, neither still not the best outcome. The best outcome would be like, oh no, I've never done any
but I've never used a bad word.
Yeah, but yeah, that broke free of the bubble. That was news.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it sure was. I can confirm I'm not into it.
I have one final assumption.
Sure.
It's a doozy. You sitting down?
Yes.
There's an assumption that you're going to help Shane and I build a PC for Smosh Games.
Oh. I think you already know that I'm going straight from here to my Colin and Samir collab.
I didn't give a timeline.
Oh.
CPUs are being updated, all this. Look, we just wanted to throw it out there.
Here's my assumption. If you watch our channel as much as you say you do, you should know how to build your own damn computer.
It's not the same. It's not the same, you know it.
Yeah, but
we
it
need
is
someone.
the same.
Yeah, we need
It
someone to,
actually
like,
is
bully
the
us.
same. Like the number of FPS you'll get if you build it and the number of FPS you'll get if I build it is actually the same.
No, there's got to be a Linus touch in there.
No.
Maybe you sign it. Maybe sign the computer when we're done with it.
I'll tell you what, you build your computer and I'll be so proud of you that in my mind I'll go, man.
Could we get like a cameo?
I
or
was
something?
involved and I'm signing it in my mind. How about that?
Oh my God. When you
Back to am I an asshole?
Linus.
I'd be happy to sign your computer. I gotta confess though, I feel weird signing stuff.
Give a bad signature.
Maybe this is a generational gap or something, but I'm way more comfortable with the selfie.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We'll put a selfie. We'll get one of those like CPU coolers where you put the picture in it, and we'll have you be like.
Like actually, okay, I should clarify this a little bit because my dad ran a pony party business when I was a kid.
What is that?
A Canadian thing? Sorry.
What is a pony party?
Well, I'll let you try and assume it.
I mean, the only thing I can think is like a literal, like, you know, when kids have a party, they want ponies at it. So maybe your dad like rented out
He's
ponies.
good.
Is that it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had a pony. And you could hire
one?
the pony. How many ponies did you have as a kid? Is this a competition? Did you have more
I'm
ponies
thinking
than
if you
me?
hire I think you can maybe get like 3 ponies
this a
at pony
competition?
party. No, I'm just saying.
Like,
If I
didn't have enough ponies
If I
for
ran
you?
a pony party, I might have more than one pony. What if the pony gets sick?
Yeah, ponies don't get sick days, so
Okay, yeah.
yeah, they just
The pony's coughing on the kids.
they just go to work.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, my pony's name was Bobby.